So, good morning. Another week where Mike Ashley is still our owner. Another week where my hair is still terrible. It's just like everything is just repeating itself over and over again. It's so frustrating. Um, Welcome to everyone in the chat already. So, good morning, David, Andy, Peter, Paul, Lee is Lee's there as well, which is great. Lee this week stepped forward and became the fan of the week. So we'll hear from Lee a little bit later on, which is good. He's got some good stuff to share, including have you ever been injured at a football ground? So Lee has a story about that. I have a story about that, and we'll get onto that a bit later on. Obviously, everyone's attention is still on the takeover. And it's just frustrating, isn't it, really? I think it's just, we're in this cycle and literally like you can predict what's going to happen on each day at the moment. Obviously, Project Restart's now here. So is that now going to help the Premier League pass the takeover now that attention's kind of maybe away from the takeover story? If they can get normal football back, is that something that they might do? I don't know. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's all a bit frustrating. I've also got another football challenge for you. I'm going to show you this now. So last week was obviously the toilet roll challenge and keep ups with the toilet roll, because that's what you do in lockdown, clearly. And So this week I thought, well, what could the challenge be this week? And so I came up with this, knee ups. So here's my attempt. So have a watch, and then I'd like to see you do that. And then if you do it, share it with me on Twitter or Facebook or whatever. You can use the hashtag #ISFootball, or you can just tag me in it, and that'd be great. I think it was Andy last week did one. He sent me a video of him doing the toilet roll keep ups. He did all right, actually. It was harder than it looked, because when you're doing it inside, you've got no room, so that was always tough. Anyway, so let's have a look at my attempt at the knee up challenge this week. So there you go, 14 I got there. So I was quite pleased with that. I will be honest again, it wasn't my first attempt. I did have a few practices, but I got to 14 in the end. So can you beat 14? My excuse as well, slightly, was the ball I was using was completely flat. So maybe with a bouncier ball I might have got more. But I got 14. So see if you can do any better than that, and then send me your videos. That'd be great. So let's have a look in the chat and see what we've got. So Peter Robson says he's got a horrible feeling that it's not going to happen for one reason or another. We never get any good news. The club does seem cursed, doesn't it? It sort of seems destined never to have like anything good happen. So we'll see. I hope you're wrong, Peter, to be honest. I'm sure everyone else does as well. But I do understand where you're coming from. I was speaking to Andy just before about he has a West Ham fan friend who's sort of not enjoying the fact that we might be getting taken over, and he's saying that they would rather have Ashley, but that's because West Ham hate their owners as well, and the West Ham fans don't like their owners, and they're not great owners, so you can sort of understand that. What else we got? Lee, we'll talk about the Premier League and the timing issue. With the comments from Richard Masters yesterday. What else have we got? Definitely harder than loads. Yeah, Andy, have a go at it. Have a go at the knee up challenge. It's quite fun. It's more energy consuming than you think. I was quite tired by the end of it. So there we go. Right. So that's that. I'm going to show you Lee's So Lee stepped up and he offered to become the fan of the week. Now, if you want to be the fan of the week, and basically what we do, we just have a quick chat over Zoom, and I ask you a few questions about your memories of supporting Newcastle, and then we share them. So Lee was great this week. Really appreciated him stepping up for it. And if I can find the right one, there it is. So here's Lee, and enjoy this, and we'll have a chat afterwards.
Going back a long while, it was August 1983. Newcastle played at home to Shrewsbury Town. It was Keegan's second season. And my dad took me, I was aged 10, he stuck me in the benches. And my dad was in the next pen in the Leazers end. He stood up in the Leazers end whilst I sat in the benches with my friends. And I should have known what was coming then because we lost 1-0 at home to Shrewsbury, Keegan's second season. But I remember looking up as I went into the benches, looking to the left and seeing the Gallagher and thinking, I want some of that, I want some of that. I actually nicked some of the gravel from the track around the pitch and took that home with me and kept it in my room for years and years and years. I don't know where it is now. It's got to be the Grandad kit from 1995 to 1997. From an away kit point of view, I'm going to go for one that's quite off the beaten track as such. Everybody would normally go for this one, I think.
Yeah.
But in 1985, Newcastle played in a silver away kit, just plain silver, and all it had was a black and white horizontal stripe across the chest there. It had the old NUFC crest here and the blue star, and my elder brother had his bedroom painted in the style of that kit. I remember my dad and my granddad, who were both Newcastle daft, always telling me stories about Tony Green. His career was cut short by injury. Anybody you talk to who's of that age will tell you Tony Green could have been one of the best players of his generation. Just from the stories I heard from my dad and from my granddad, Tony Green, I would have loved to have seen him. Where do you start? I mean, you've got your Shearers, Keegan. Obviously, I was privileged enough to see Keegan play in his head at Newcastle. Gazza, Waddle, Hassan Ben Arfa. By a distance, to be perfectly honest with you, my favourite player is Peter Beardsley. I remember when we signed him in September, I think 83 or something, from Vancouver Whitecaps, and not ever having heard of him and seeing this fella come on with a bald haircut and no front teeth, and thinking, who's this fella? And the bloke was just a genius. Again, against Derby County in May 1984, we effectively sealed promotion that day. All but mathematically. There was no way we were going to get caught. We won 4-0, but it was just everything about that day. The memories, it just seemed like the perfect day. The sun was out, we did a lap of honour after the game, and we'd see a promotion. Do you remember old Stevie, the old fellow you used to see on the TV all the time? He's passed away now, God bless him. Stevie actually spoke to me and my friend outside the Gallagher after that game, and he was like, yeah, they're back where they belong, and what have you. And I just remember talking to him, and it's like, talking to him after that game will always stay with me. Yeah. The atmosphere in town. Afterwards, I headed back into town to get the number 10 bus back to my house, and there was a fella outside Eldon Square, and he had a bottle of champagne, and he was just letting people drink out of the champagne. And it just seemed like the perfect day.
Thank you very much to Lee. Some great answers there. Like I say, if you want that to be you next week, then just let me know. Get in touch with me, and we can sort that out. It'd be nice to have a few lined up for the next few weeks. So I'm hoping to do one of these shows each week. Now, during that, Lee mentioned about his favourite kit, and his home kit was kind of one that most of us would say. I would say the 95 to 97 Grandad collar, black and white stripes. There's no arguing from me on that one. But the away kit, he said, was really interesting. And he was on about a grey one from the 1980s, and I've got a picture of it here. And when he said the grey kit and he talked about the black and white band across the middle, I couldn't picture it. I could only think of the other grey sort of silver kit we had. That I always think of Chris Waddle in it with the stripes and the blue star and stuff, which I think was about the same time. But that's pretty nice, isn't it? I do like that. So what what do you think? What's your favourite shirt? What's your favourite home and away kit? Let me know in the comments. And yeah, that's awesome though. Really good kit that, Lee. One that had completely not registered with me at all. So that is a nice thing. Lots of people in the comments, talking about the takeover, getting desperate for it. So Justin says, getting so desperate for this to go through. Seems to always be Newcastle that have these problems. I have heard from a couple of people, including a Man City fan. I mean, it's just a fan. I don't know how much weight it has, but they were saying that so far with the Newcastle takeover, it's been 7 weeks, I think, and it took 7 weeks for them to process Sheikh Mansour and their bid. So actually, that's not too bad. And then and someone else also put the other day that the Sheffield United bid took 8 weeks and the Man City bid took 7 weeks. So if that's true, maybe we're not in such a bad place after all. Maybe we're more on track with it than we all think. It's just the fact that we've known about it for so long has been a bit of a nightmare, and it's happening in a pandemic. Will that have slowed it down any? I don't know. These piracy issues, I honestly don't know if it's a problem or not. I mean, maybe there is obviously something in it. There's obviously a concern there because there's legal cases and all that sort of thing. But I just think that the Saudis are not going to let this go. And I think that I do sort of think that they might sort of, I don't want to say bribe, but maybe they will. They might sort of, offer to pay a lot of money for the rights in that region if the takeover is allowed to go through. It might be like a little sweetener, and then they can kind of promise to get on top of the piracy issues over there. So I don't know. We'll see. Ronaldo Carboni. People believe in all the shit. Yeah, the press have absolutely no idea what's going on. Yeah, that's kind of what I've come to sort of think is, I'm not sure the Premier League have leaked much. Like, I don't think there's been any leaks out of the Premier League. So, and if there hasn't, then basically everyone's working on hearsay and guesswork and that sort of thing. So, I don't know. Paul Jackson says, what does everyone think about the Saudi streaming FA Cup games? I mean, it's 21 years ago? Was it? I mean, when did they stream these games? That's what I can get my head around. Were they being accused of streaming stuff years ago, or was it just old games from 20 years ago that they were streaming? Let me know, because I couldn't quite get my head around that one. Jabba Dabba Doo says the takeover on 17th of June. Fingers crossed. I'd settle for that. And Nizelis says the 9th of June, which would be perfect for Newcastle, obviously, with the Bladen races. So who knows? Who knows what's going to happen there? But that 9th of June would be a good day, wouldn't it? Yeah, that would kind of be fitting in a way. I'm sure there'd be some parodies written as well to the tune of the Bladen races. Anthony, Newcastle always us. Always someone spoiling our Nirvana. It's weird. I don't know. I honestly don't know what happens with Newcastle. I really don't. I just think we do see. Is it just because we're Newcastle supporters and we feel that way, or is there genuinely things and forces working against the club in some mysterious way that none of us know? I don't know. It's sort of weird. It's frustrating. I know. David Johnson says the takeover is off. We don't know. That's the thing. We don't know that. We don't know, do we? I think if it was off, maybe we would know that. But at the moment, I think no news is kind of good news. It's not great news, but it's, unless we're told it's off, then that's terrible news. But until we hear that, we've always got that hope, haven't we? Andy, good crack, Lee. Yeah, brilliant. Lee was really great. It was really good chatting to him the other night. Some really good answers and kind of not always the answers you'd sort of immediately think of when you're asking people about favourite kits and favourite things like that. So there we go. Lots of love for that kit. David's got a replica of that top. So there you go. Like I say, it completely passed me by, that kit. I hadn't realised it at all for some reason. It's nice though, isn't it? They should recreate that. They should recreate that in a modern style. Like, it's so simple, but also football shirts, V-neck collars, right? V-neck collars are so much better than round collars, and yet most kits these days have a round collar, and I hate that. Bring back the V-neck collars. That's what I say. Bring back the V-necks. What do you reckon? I reckon that. Yeah, everyone's got morals until they fill up their cows side. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, as we know, and has been reported, or not been reported, the Saudis have their fingers in a lot of pies. So in a lot of things that we use, in a lot of companies that people use every day, there's sort of Saudi money in it, in a lot of it. So, you know, it's Disney, Twitter, The Independent, and, you know, 100 other companies as well, massive companies. So, you know, just take it all with a pinch of salt now. It's not going to go away, that's the thing. I think that even if this goes through and we get taken over by, you know, the Saudis, this kind of moral stuff just won't go away. Football's high profile, and I genuinely don't think it's not a Newcastle thing. I think it's because I think Man City get it a lot. Man City fans have been quite supportive of this takeover, but they've said just kind of be ready, expect it to happen, expect that this won't go away and that you'll have people on your back. It seems that their Man City fans seem very familiar with Miguel Delaney as well. So, you know, he's got an axe to grind, and there's nothing we can do about people like him. You know, he's a hypocrite in my view, and he's not the only one, but it isn't going to go away, and so there will be pressure on the club even if this does go through. But I just think if we can get to a point where football comes back, the takeover happens and the football's back, then it will take the focus away. I think the fact that all this is going on in a pandemic when there's no sports news, very little sports news, hasn't helped. But, you know, there's nothing we can do about it. Nothing we can do about it. I think Andy's saying that kit was also his favourite from back in the day too. So there we go. Jabba Dabba Doo. If the takeover don't go ahead, I'm supporting Sunderland. I hope it doesn't come to it. Well, will Sunderland even exist? You know, they're in a massive mess. They are in a massive, massive mess. I don't know, what do people think about that? Do you want Sunderland back in the same league as Newcastle for derby games and stuff like that, or are you happy to see them struggling in League One? Personally, if we never had another derby day again in my life, I wouldn't be bothered. I hate them. Even when we were winning them, I never really liked them. Obviously like full time, but just the one game that I just hate. So I don't know. What do you reckon? What do you think? Would you rather? Do you want us to see us playing Sunderland again in the future, or just let them languish in League One struggling, or even the Championship struggling? Let me know. Right. Aiden, Beast Gamer 10. Is there any loans you'd want us to make permanent? I'm not sure. I'll come back on that one. I can't. Who do we even have on loan at the moment? I lose track of everything. I know Danny Rose. Who else is on loan with us at the moment? Let me know. If the Premier League blocked the takeover, we should join the Scottish League. Oh dear. That would be rubbish, wouldn't it? That would be terrible. We might win something though. Might potentially win a cup or something. I don't know. Lee says no, they'd happily see us right. I totally agree with that, Lee. I think the Mackhams, if the boot was on the other foot, in fact, if the boot was on the other foot, I think they would be much more vocal to us than we're being to them. I know there's a few people winding them up out there, but honestly, I do. If it was the other way around, we wouldn't hear the end of it from them, and that's kind of why I just think let them get on with it. Let them struggle in League One for as long as they're down there. It'd be hilarious. But I actually genuinely think they're in big trouble. Obviously, their owners are dodgy. We've kind of known that from the start. Taking that money out of the club, buying the club with money that is the club's. I mean, how is that even allowed to happen? I don't understand, but that's ridiculous. But they are in massive trouble because they're in League One again. There's no parachute payments. There's basically, they're losing all their money, their income. So they're genuinely a League One team, and they will have a League One budget, and that's going to make it harder for them to ever get back out of it. So we'll see about that. Oh yeah, Willems is on loan. Of course he is. Yeah, I would take him in a heartbeat. Yeah, I would. I've not seen enough of Lazaro to comment really. I think he's only played 4 games, so I'm not sure. But Willems, if he's on loan, I would take him 100%. Yeah. Toonami TV, welcome. Go and follow Toonami TV. He is brilliant. I'm sure a lot of you follow him anyway. He's got over 3,000 followers now, which is amazing. He says we definitely need the derby back soon, but Sunderland can't string three wins together in League One. So he's obviously in favour. Sharky's in favour of having the derby back. I have a different point of view, as I've said, but each to their own. Some people love the derby. I don't personally, but although having said that, it would be kind of nice if we were an amazing team again, and then we could kind of beat them regularly. That would be good again. Lee, I wouldn't take Rose back either. I have sort of sympathy with him for some of what he said during the lockdown and all that sort of stuff. But to me, he's a player who just doesn't seem to really love playing football or want to. So having people like that in your team, I know he's a professional and probably he comes in and does a job, but long term, do you want people like that in your team? I'm not sure you do, really. Paul says we'd win everything. I'm presuming that's in the Scottish League. Maybe we would win everything. Willems definitely. I think that's true. Andy's saying we don't have Willems on loan anymore, do we? He's back in. I think I think he is still linked to us, but I'm not 100% sure on that. Maybe someone can clarify that. And yeah, Sunderland Till I Die on Netflix was comedy gold. That is true. I mean Medvin, he was just. It was like watching David Brent in The Office, wasn't it? It was just so cringeworthy, and his Ibiza music. Like, what was that? What was he doing with that? Just honestly embarrassing. Do they still have that music, by the way? Did they stick with that? Or have they gone back to what they used to have? Does anyone know that? David Johnson, loans remind me of Bruce's tenure at Dark Place. I don't know what that means, to be honest. What did I make of the Sunderland documentary? Yeah, seriously, actually, the Sunderland documentary, apart from being utterly hilarious, was a really well made documentary. And just as a fan of football, it's always good. I always love those kind of programs, to go and see behind the scenes of a sporting institute or a club or something like that. If anyone's got Amazon Prime, get on the All or Nothing series, because that is brilliant. It started with NFL teams, and it followed them for a whole season, but they've branched out. So then they did the All Blacks, the New Zealand All Blacks, which was brilliant. So that caught the Lions tour from about 3 years ago. So and then it sort of went up to, like, it followed them for about a year as well. That was amazing. Then obviously they did Man City. If anyone's seen that, the All or Nothing Man City, again really good. But they keep bringing new ones out. So there's always like an NFL team every season. They did an American football college team, the Michigan. In fact, funnily enough, I have a Michigan cap, which is a bit random. They did them, Michigan Wolverines. That's really worth a watch. So any All or Nothing series, go and watch it. The only one I've not watched is the Brazil one. There's a Brazil one out, and that's all subtitled, and I found it really hard to kind of get into it with that way. But anyway, so there you go. So there's some good TV tips for you. There's others. Yeah, I thought they were a weird club to follow on Netflix. Boca Chicago Bulls. There is a Boca Juniors. Again on Amazon. There's a Boca Juniors documentary as well. Again, it's subtitled because obviously they all speak Portuguese or Spanish? Spanish. But that I've watched a few episodes of that. That's quite good. All about Boca Juniors. That was pretty good. Loads of good football stuff out there. Toonami TV. We need the rivalry because it's only good for the North East. I don't like them. I don't wish them to go bust, but I won't. But I would miss it. I'm not sure. I hear that it's good for the North East. I don't know. Is it? Is it good for the North East? If Newcastle are winning in the Premier League, that's good for the North East. If we play Sunderland, I don't know. Is it good? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe it is. Also, they have changed the walkout music back. So once they got him, once he left, they changed it back presumably. O'Neill came across really well in it. Who was that? Just remind me who that was. I'm losing track of that. O'Neill. Who was that? Was that in Sunderland Till I Die? Seemed like to genuinely enjoy football. I'm not sure who that is. Anyway, okay. If you've just joined us, I'm gonna recap my football challenge for you. Okay, so make sure that you are following me on these channels. So get over on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all those things. Use the hashtag ISFootball. So last week we did a keep up challenge. I've done another one this week. So see if you can beat my score on this. So if you've just joined us, have a watch. I'm obviously showing this again because I'm proud of it. So but have a watch. See if you can beat my score with knee ups. Okay. So they got 14 to beat. Try and beat 14. I'd love to see some of your efforts this week. So do it, and let's see who can get the most. Okay. Let's have another look at some things. So Ronaldo Carboni. According to Transfer Market, Williams is still at Newcastle on loan. I think he's back because he got injured, isn't he? Didn't he return back to Germany because he got injured? I don't know. But I know that he wants to come back. So, Gary. Hi, Gary. Hiya. Do you think Newcastle will have a new player to finish their games off with Steve Bruce? Because I'm just hearing different rumours going around. Do you think Newcastle will have a new player to finish their games off? Do you mean a new I don't know what you mean. Do you mean a new manager or a new players? I don't think we'll have new players because I don't think we'll be allowed to do that as the season ends. But if it's about a new manager, I think Steve Bruce will see this season out. I think that if that's what you're asking, I do think Steve Bruce will be allowed to finish this season. So I don't know, what do you lot think? Lee, I've never enjoyed derbies. Hate the run up, nervous wreck all week. Totally agree. Even when we were clearly the better team and we won, can I just clear something up as well, right? I'm 36, right? In my lifetime, until Mike Ashley took over Newcastle, Sunderland, I'd only ever seen Sunderland beat us once, I think, or maybe twice, right? And yes, they got the 6 in a row, but before that, we never lost to them. we never lost them for years and years and years. So it kind of annoys me that the narrative is that they always beat us, because historically that isn't true. It just bugs me that. Anyway, but yeah, I just hate the derbies. Peter says, if the team's doing well, to hell with the others. Derbies are great, but all that matters is us doing well. Yeah, again, exactly. I totally agree with that, Peter. At the end of the day, each match is just 3 points, isn't it? So it doesn't matter. NUFC Hotspot, do you think Newcastle are guaranteed safety this season? That is a good question. In fact, let's talk about that, because that is the Premier League table at the moment. Okay, so Newcastle are 13th, 35 points. We are 8 points above the relegation zone. To me, we're not guaranteed safety yet. I think we probably need another 6 points. I would say 2 wins. and I'd be happy. But we're definitely not safe yet. And when football restarts, we need to make sure that we hit the ground running, because if we don't, we're going to be in a bit of bother. And I do not want to see us in a relegation fight, sucked into that relegation fight. To me, the bottom three will come from 15th downwards. So Brighton, West Ham, Watford, and then obviously the bottom three is there. Out of those 6, I'd expect 3 of those to go down. Norwich, I would say, are already gone. But anyone from Villa up to Brighton, I would say, will fill the other 2 slots. But we're not safe. I don't think we're fully safe. And with the way we play and the limited amount of goals we score, that concerns me. But hopefully we can get a few results. I'll just show us our fixtures that we've got left. So our remaining fixtures are those. So we've got 9 games. 5 of them are at home. 4 of them are away. And some of those home games, there and the away games, to be fair, we've got sort of fixtures that we can get points from, in my view. I do think you look at Villa and West Ham in particular as games that at home where you'd like to see us win. I think away from home, you look at Watford, Brighton, Bournemouth. You're looking at hopefully picking up, at least a draw or the odd win here and there. So I think we've got the games to get the points, and yeah, but we're not safe. We're definitely not safe. What do you lot think? How many points do you think we need to survive? What do you reckon? We're on 35 at the moment. Which is probably more than a lot of us thought we would be on at this stage. But for me, an 8 points is a significant gap, clearly. It would kind of mean Bournemouth or Watford they would have to win at least 3 games, probably 4. So, maybe 1 win would be enough. I don't know. So yeah, let me know what you think about the fixtures. Jason Cat, hello from Stuttgart. Hello. Hope you're well. Hope you're good. So that's it. Yes, obviously Project Restart's come about. And are we all happy with that? Are we happy that the Premier League's going to come to a conclusion? What do you reckon? I'm really happy that it's back. Every game live on TV as well, so that's going to be really exciting. And games on the BBC. And free-to-air telly as well. So Sky are going to be showing, I think, 25 games free-to-air. BBC have got 4 games. Amazon Prime have got 4 games. And then BT and Sky have got all the rest. So, pretty cool. It obviously will be different because there's no fans. There's just no doubt about that it will not feel the same. But after, 2 or 3 months of nothing, I'm welcoming it back. Definitely welcoming it back. Hopefully everyone stays healthy. All the players are tested and stay healthy so that there's no hiccups there. Because I think we could have a big problem if one team's hit by the virus. Because then you've got a problem. So let's just hope that all the players and staff of the teams can stay fit and healthy, and that the season can be completed. And obviously Newcastle still in the FA Cup. Still got Man City, and it looks like the FA Cup's going to be played out. So, I mean, personally, I think we're going to struggle to beat Man City. But, a quarter-final of an FA Cup, anything can happen. And Man City have lost a lot of games this season. Now, I was looking at the league table. In fact, I'll show you the top half of the Premier League table. And, Man City have lost 7 games and drawn 3. So they are beatable. Obviously they're still very good, and I'm sure that they'll be raring to go and stuff, but it's not impossible for us to get through that cup tie, but I think it is unlikely. I'm not overly confident that we'll do it, but maybe that's just me. I don't know. Let's have a look what you're saying in the comments. Oh, hi Kian, you're right. Kian plays. If you're into gaming, go and watch Kian's channel. He makes gaming videos, so if that's your thing, go and check him out. Charlie says, if Brucey wins the FA Cup, do you think he should be given another season? In a word, no, I don't. I think the guy's got a proven record of being average for his whole managerial career. The fact he's managing in the Premier League, to me, is a step above where he should be anyway, and I think he's lucky that he's got the job he has. If we do somehow win the FA Cup, I still don't think you would stick with him, because I just think you would want to bring in someone who has more, just a better approach to everything. You know, the reports coming out that basically the players aren't trained hard. That leads to poorer fitness, more injuries, that sort of thing. And that's just the basics before you get into tactics and all that sort of stuff. So, you know, I think his level's probably the Championship as a manager. But yeah, I would still get rid of Bruce, even if he won the FA Cup. Kean thinks we're guaranteed safety. Ronaldo says, I think another win. Yeah, I mean, having said, when I've sort of looked, actually, it would mean one of those teams at the bottom would have to win at least 3 games out of their last 9. That's a big ask for teams down the bottom, isn't it? David said, do you think Sheffield United will be ahead of us fitness-wise, having played before we do? That's a good question. I don't think it'll make a massive difference, to be honest. In fact, if anything, because they're going to be playing midweek, because obviously the season's going to start for them on the 17th, isn't it? And then they'll have a game on the weekend of the 20th. So they'll play a game, have 3 days? So they'll probably have 2 or 3 days recovery, and then they'll have to play us again. They haven't played for 2 or 3. What is it? How many weeks is it now? 10 weeks, 11 weeks, something like that. So they haven't played for like three months by the time it comes round. So for me, the players are going to be asking players to start playing 2 games a week without playing competitive games for 3 months is a big ask. So actually, that might go against them rather than for them. NUFC Hotspot, surely more than 9 games, we're going to win the FA Cup. Fingers crossed. I would love to see us win the FA Cup. Lots of people saying, this is a good question actually, what do you think to this? People saying that they don't want us to win the FA Cup because we wouldn't be there. What do you think? Jason says, I actually think our home games without the crowd might be an advantage. Too many players seem to let the crowd get to them, like rabbits in the headlights. That's interesting. I know that we've... was it last season under Rafa where our away record was better? Or certainly in the first half of the season, the away record was better than the home record. I'm not sure what it looks like this season in terms of home and away wins, but yeah, possibly. It might help us. I don't know. I mean, the crowd obviously is a big plus at Newcastle, so it helps when we're playing in the big, like the top 6 teams and the atmosphere is better. I think that does help us. Ronaldo, we should be beating Villa, and I can see us beating Tottenham. We'll see. Tottenham are kind of one of the teams that I've got lucky out of this, I think, because Harry Kane's now back fit, whereas when the season ended he was out injured, and I think that's a massive thing for Spurs. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, we've kind of fluked some wins against lots of teams this season, so we could probably beat anyone, maybe apart from Liverpool, but we'll see. Andy says 5 points for safety. Yeah, I reckon 5 or 6 points will guarantee that we're fine. Kean reckons 4 points, so we'll just see. We can beat Liverpool as they will be playing their kids. We'll see. I don't know. Last game of the season against Liverpool, they'll have won the title by then, but maybe they won't be going as flat out, but they'll still have the pride of trying to finish with like a record points total or something. So who knows? Lee, behind closed doors after 3 months off gives us our best chance to beat them. Yeah, that's the thing. I think it's a long time not to play matches, so there's going to be a lot of rusty players, and it will take a few games to get match sharp again. So who knows? I think we might see some strange results in those first few weeks, and actually in Germany that's kind of played out a bit, hasn't it? Because there's hardly been any home wins in the first 2 or 3 rounds of fixtures. So we might see something similar over here. But hopefully we're one of the teams that wins the home games, obviously. Kean reckons we should bring Rafa back. Which camp are you in? Rafa, Pochettino, what do you reckon? Cheers, Paul. Justin, do you think Newcastle will go down next season if no takeover is done and Bruce is still in charge? If this takeover doesn't happen and Bruce is still in charge, I would absolutely fear for our survival next season, because I actually chatted to Lee about this a little bit the other day. Lee Forster, he's in the chat at the moment, fan of the week this week, and he basically we said, if this gets rejected, it's going to be a big problem, because it's likely that this will then end up in court. And if there's like an appeal about the process, about getting new ownership, Ashley is not going to invest anything in that team, because Ashley will sit back until all of that legal stuff is out of the way. And if he does that, we're in trouble, because we're already got a weak and thin squad. We've got a few good players, don't get me wrong, but our squad depth isn't great. We need more goals in the team. So I would absolutely worry next season if the takeover doesn't happen and Bruce is still in charge. Yeah, I massively fear for our survival. Yeah. Okay, so our home record is we've won 5 and drawn 6. Away record, we've won 4, drawn 2. So we are better at home this season than away, which I thought we were. So there you go. Lots of people saying Rafa. It's in a sense, if it's true about Pochettino and Rafa, it's a nice problem to have in my view. Either of them is going to be great in my view. So I don't think we can't lose with either of those. I think that's a really good thing. Okay, I've just got another clip I want to play of Lee. So like I said, Lee was fan of the week this week. So if you want to be the fan of the week next week, so I'd have a chat with you and we'll play out some of your answers about supporting Newcastle or football or whatever. If you're not a Newcastle fan, that's absolutely fine. And we just have a chat about Newcastle and play some of your answers out. But I kept this little clip out, especially because it's about being injured in a football ground. So have you ever sustained an injury at a football ground? I'm going to play this clip and then I'll tell you my story as well after that.
Newcastle played Coventry City, I think it was in around about 87, 88. And again, for some reason that day, I'd ended up in the paddock. I was only 13, 14 at the time. I'd ended up in the paddock. Halfway through, I think it was the first half, I'm looking, I think I've got to get back into the gallery for some reason. Why am I in it? I need to get back where I normally stand, so to try and get back in the scoreboard. And we used to have these fences in between the paddock and the Gallagher, with not spikes as such, but sort of like poles for railings. So I'm looking around and I'm thinking, right, there's no stewards, there's no coppers around. And as soon as my chance is there, I'm going to scale the fence. So I jumped up, scaled the fence, and I was about to jump into the area of the Gallagher where the floodlight is, and my lace actually catches on the fence. And I just literally, on my face. Literally on my face. Took 3 front teeth out.
Really?
I smashed my nose.
Oh my God.
I smashed my nose. And do you know what? Not one person actually helped me up. Literally, I just went timber, landed on my face, smashed my face up, watched the rest of the game, went home and again got in bother because my man thought I'd been in bother.
So there we go. So Lee got badly injured trying to hop from one section of the ground to the other, trying to get into the Gallagher, and basically lost his teeth, smashed his face up, looked like he'd been in a brawl, and then even got told off by his mum when he got home. So have you ever been injured in a football stadium? That is the question. So, I mean, it's quite a funny story and he can laugh about it now. I'm sure he wasn't laughing at the time. No one came to help him either, which is awful. So what's going on there? I've got a story, not as bad as Lee's, but my story about being injured in a football stadium happened in about 1991. It was probably the second season I'd watched Newcastle, and I was in the Gallagher end. I was about 7 years old. I was with my dad and my uncle Kevin and my brother, and I was sat on the barrier. So obviously the barriers were great at Newcastle because they were big, thick concrete things. We scored a goal against Leicester, and I was knocked off the barrier by my uncle, and I landed in front. I just went flying, obviously, off the barrier, and cracked my head open on the floor of the ground of the Gallagher steps, and obviously cut my head open. And so so that was obviously not very good. But then I had to get first aid. So back in those days, the St John's ambulance were on site, and they used to be located at the sort of Leazes Milburn corner. So you had to go to the far corner of the ground from the Gallagher, and we did that by walking around the edge of the pitch. So I had to walk around the edge of the pitch like with this bleeding head all the way around. Me and my dad walked around the edge of the pitch as the game was going on. Got to the Leazes end. St John's ambulance sorted me out, put a big white bandage across my forehead, and then we had to walk back to the Gallagher end, and we walked right in front of the dugouts, and we saw, like, it was amazing. We were like really close to the pitch. I loved it. Like, obviously I didn't like the fact I'd hurt my head, but like it was kind of cool to be walking literally pitch side as the game was going on. It was amazing. So anyway, had this big white bandage on. My uncle said I looked like Rambo as I walked back. But yeah, so that's my story. So I fell off the barrier. Lee fell from a much higher height, cracked his head open, and cracked his nose open and lost some teeth. So there you go. Has anyone else ever been injured at a football ground? There we go. NUFC hotspot. Everyone in the stadium is at risk with Richie around, kicking the corner flags. Yeah. Oh dear. Yeah, you don't want to be near Richie, do you? I think the players are at risk from Richie, aren't they, with him slapping their heads so hard. Andy says he got injured when we played Northampton at home in the Cup. Northampton were warming up in front of us. One of their players kicked the ball into the crowd. It was heading for my daughter, who was 7 at the time, so he jumped in front of her. The ball hit the wall behind and ricocheted into my back and got badly winded and one big bruise on my back. Flipping heck. The thing is, Andy, footballs that professionals use, they're really hard, aren't they? Like, they're absolutely solid. So like, if you get hit on the face or the head with one of them, you'll know about it. It reminds me of just popped into my head then. I'm sure some of you would have been at this game where Laurent Robert cleared the ball and blasted it with his left foot straight into Olivier Bernard's face, and then Olivier Bernard was like rocking around like he'd been in a fight with Mike Tyson. It was just unbelievable. Yeah, and thankfully he was obviously all right after that. But yeah, so yeah, you don't want one of those. You don't want one of those balls in your face. Definitely not. Andy said the steward came and asked if I was okay. I lied and said yes, but it knacked. Brilliant, love that. Okay, it's almost time for me to go. But before I go, I just wanted to mention about the Super 6 again. So if you've got Super 6 on your phone or your laptop or whatever device you're using on, and you want to join my Super 6 League, obviously for the end of this season, but then we'll carry this over into the start of next season too. So it's kind of getting ready for next season in a sense. So get on that. So the PIN number that is there for my league. So go and join the Super 6 League if you play Super 6. Because it'd be really fab to have a little league going on that. So I'll leave the code up on the screen for a little bit longer, just so you can get it and yeah, jot it down or join later or whatever. So there we go. Kian says, do you play FIFA? Kian, I love FIFA, okay, and I used to play it an awful lot, but then unfortunately what happens is you become an adult and you have kids and you don't have time to play as many computer games as you used to, or at least I don't anyway. So I do love FIFA, and I would absolutely love to have time to play it, but unfortunately at the moment I don't play it. Gary says, do you think all the footballers will feel lost without their fans for support after the football restart from social distancing? I think that it's going to be very weird for the footballers. I think that the games are going to have a feel of like pre-season or friendlies or even training ground games, and yet there's Premier League points at stake in each of those games. So they've got to twist that mindset. They've got to flick that switch and understand that they need to have the intensity. They need to be performing at their highest level. And and the fans are they will be a huge miss. I've no doubt about it. It's going to be very strange without fans. But in my opinion, from my point of view as a fan, I'm happy that we'll have football back, because it's just not having live sport has been probably one of the worst things about this lockdown, in my view. So there we go. Cheers, David. I appreciate that comment. Kean said, "Yeah, your dad plays with you sometimes." Yeah, I'm sure he probably want to play with you more, Kean. I'm sure, but he's probably very busy. Andy's got to go too. I'm going to go soon. So just before I go, like I say, I'd love a few more of you to join my Super 6 League, ready for next season, but we will obviously play out this season too. So get on that. And thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to have a go at the knee up challenge. Get onto that with the knee up. See how many knee ups you can do. Send me a video on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. Use the hashtag ISFootball, and it would be really good if I could see some of you do it. So thank you very much, and I'll do this all again next week. So thank you for joining me, and I will see you next week for another live video.